Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is David Novak. Today I am going to do the Girl Scout cookie tag. It was created by Melinda at A Web of Stories, and I was tagged by Pat at Book Chat with Pat. The name of the tag gets its theme from Girl Scout cookies, which are a commonly sold product in the United States. Everything in the US has to come down to buying and selling something. And so these cookies are a means of introducing young women to all of the pecuniary joys of partaking in business. Now, I don't really remember any of them. They were around when I was a kid. I remember better the peanut brittle, I think is what they called it, and I remember liking that more than the cookies. But suffice it to say, in order to do this tag, there is no requirement that you are familiar with the cookies themselves. So number one, these are the prompts. Trefoils, a classic novel that you love. And now some of these books could easily be interchangeable. I'm going to say Dead Souls by Nikolai Gogol. This is the old Penguin with the David Magarshak translation. I've read this a couple of times and it hit me at exactly the right time. I purchased it at the Circle Campus bookstore, University of Illinois, Chicago Circle Campus as it was known then, and it hit me at the right time. And to this day, it is the only novel of the Russians that I really love deeply. I most recently read War and Peace by Tolstoy, and I suppose that could be a contender, but I don't think so. Number two, Lemon Ups, a book you find inspiring. And this I'm going to go with a couple of lawyers. There's this lovely little biography of Lincoln's early years, and you get to follow him starting out in the law world, riding the circuit and so forth. I find his story altogether inspirational, and I've done some thinking about why I don't choose something like the narrative of Frederick Douglass or Harriet Jacobs or the one by, is it Solomon Northup, the 12 Years a Slave, I think. And whilst those first-person slave narratives might be inspirational, I would say that my large takeaway from those stories is horror. So I find the stories that the horrific nature of slavery and all that pertained to it rather overwhelming. So for a purely literary work, however, that I find very inspirational, I go to another famous lawyer, Cicero. And this, I don't know how well you can see it, it's 2 volumes of his Philippics. So the title Philippics is derived from some speeches that somebody else made against Philip of Macedon, I believe. Was it Demosthenes? You know, sorry, I don't know my names. Maybe I can find something here. Oh well, I have never read the Philippics of the original Demosthenes. Okay, so for the purposes of trying to determine how many speeches were intended to be included in the corpus of Philippics, an instructive possible parallel is furnished by a collection of Cicero's consular speeches of 63 that he outlined in 60. In that instance, too, Cicero did not include all his speeches delivered during a given period, but rather made a selection of 12 speeches. Since in his letter to Atticus, he explicitly likens this collection of his consular speeches to Demosthenes' Philippic orations, the number 12 may well have been chosen to recall the number of works in ancient editions of Demosthenes that were assigned to his clash with Philip. So the reason that I find these so inspiring is Cicero is a remarkable figure in antiquity, and he was no lover of Julius Caesar. However, when the assassins fled from the scene, I believe one of them called out something pertaining to Cicero. He had nothing to do with the assassination. He may have known something, but he did not participate. However, as the power clash grew, as Mark Antony decided to vie for the top spot and do away with the Republic, Cicero decided to speak out against him, and he gave this series of speeches. And to me, it's heroic. He wound up paying for them with his life, but he gave them knowing the risks. And he was not a particularly courageous man. He was cowardly. He would run when he could, but even so, he loved the ideals of the Republic so much that he spoke out against Antony when it was not safe to do so. A comforting book, I will go with the Discourses, with anything by Epictetus. I find Stoicism very comforting in general, but I think the best of the three may well be this man. He was formerly a slave, and I like his writings better than those of Marcus Aurelius, who was emperor. But in either case, philosophy provides what it often does, a consolation. So he is particularly a proponent of not getting worked up about matters which lie outside of one's own control. Number 4, Adventurfuls. That must be the name of the cookie. An adventurous book. Well, Journey to the West, which I just finished reading last month, certainly qualifies. It was nothing but adventures, one after the other. But I think I will go with Arabian Nights. Now, this is not Arabian Nights. This is just my stand-in for the Arabian Nights. And you will not find a more adventure-laden book than the Arabian Nights, which Penguin publishes in 3 volumes, each of about 800 pages. And it's just one thing after another. Number 5, Samoas, a book that blends 2 or more genres. Well, I don't know about 2 or more genres, but anybody who reads this will most likely encounter an introduction that talks about how this is blending poetry with prose, something which had never been done, and the prose provides a framework, a narrative framework for the poems which Dante had written. Now, As with all of these kind of firsts, you do tend, the more you read, to find out that other people have done similar things. It's not so unique as an introduction, and I can't say that it was Mark Moose's introduction or a different volume would have you believe, just as when you hear things like Don Quixote was the first novel ever written, then you find out that there were others. So, number 6, do-si-dos. Either a book you love that everyone seems to hate, or a book you hate that everyone seems to love. Well, I think hate and love may be too strong, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the long poems by William Wordsworth just don't do anything for me. I don't know where any of them might be. I believe I have a volume of his longer poems somewhere, but it's probably tucked away in the basement or it was gotten rid of. So I just am showing this as a stand-in. Number 7, Thin Mints, one of your all-time favorite books. And this kind of takes it back to where we were with Gogol. His book is famously a comic masterpiece. And then I take it back to the Attic master par excellence, the only Athenian comic poet whose work has survived to us. And so this is a book that I dearly loved from the moment that I first saw it, and the feelings have not waned. So the next prompt, number 8, it says tagalongs. I don't know if that's really a cookie name. Tag some fellow booktubers. And I'm going to tag Justin at Triumphal Reads. He reminds me a little bit of some of these cicadas that are going to be bursting out at the end of this month, in that he goes through long periods of dormancy on his channel, but now all of a sudden he has been pushing out content like you wouldn't believe, and so this tag will give him one more opportunity to do so. It's all marvelous stuff. His focus is on history and natural science. And then I will also tag Shanice at Shelf Reflections. She also is just now coming off of a bit of a hiatus, and she has a marvelous channel wherein she will review books or do such delightful things as come up with books inspired by song titles on a Beatles album. So I urge you to check out their channels. All of these prompts will be listed in the description box below. Thank you very much for stopping by my channel.